Some stories don't talk about blindness. They talk about people who choose not to see. In this tale, a blind man walks into a house. But what happens next has nothing to do with sight. It's a chain of tricks, lies, and unexpected turns, where everyone tries to outsmart the other. And in the end, no one walks away clean. I'm Al-Hakawati, the legendary storyteller, and today we begin the story of the third brother of the Barber. The barber said that his third brother was blind, and one day he was guided to the door of a house, hoping that someone inside might respond so he could ask for something. So he knocked, and when the owner called out asking who was at the door, the brother said nothing. He simply knocked again. The man asked a second time, still no answer. Then he raised his voice and asked again and again. Eventually, the man inside had enough. He came down, opened the door, and asked what was wanted. So the brother asked for something, anything for the sake of God. The man realized he was blind and told him to give his hand. Now naturally, the brother thought this was it. Finally something would be given. But instead of giving him anything, the man took his hand and pulled him inside. And not just inside, up the stairs. Then more stairs. Step after step, all the way to the top of the house. And all this time, the brother kept thinking, this must be leading somewhere good. No one goes through this much effort just to send a man away empty-handed. At least, that's what he believed. So they sat down at the top, and the man finally asked him what he wanted. And after all that climbing, he was still asking for the same simple thing. And this is where it turns, because instead of giving him anything, the man simply told him he had nothing to give. After leading him all the way to the top of the house, the brother, already tired, couldn't help but wonder, why hadn't he been told that from the beginning? Why bring him all the way up, just to send him away empty-handed? But the man didn't see it that way. Instead, he made it sound like the problem was from the start, that if the brother had simply answered when he was first asked, none of this would have happened. So naturally, the brother asked to be taken back down, but the man refused. He left him there and made it clear the way was open in front of him, as if that was enough. So now imagine the situation: a blind man at the top of a house, expected to find his way down alone. The brother stood up and started descending slowly, step by step, feeling his way, careful with every movement. He managed to go down most of the stairs safely, until he was close to the bottom, not far from the door anymore. And just at that moment, his foot slipped, and once it started, there was nothing stopping it. He rolled all the way down, until he reached the bottom, striking his head along the way, and ending up at the door, hurt, and with nothing gained from the whole journey. So he went out, not even knowing where he was anymore, still shaken from the fall. And soon he ran into two of his companions, who like him were also blind. They asked him how his day had gone, and from the way he answered, it was already clear not a good day. He told them everything that had happened, and after that, he said something simple. He wanted to take a little from the money they had all been saving together, just enough to spend on himself. Now what he didn't realize was that the same man from the house had followed him, quietly, without a sound, listening to everything. The brother went back to his place and sat down, waiting for the others to arrive. And that man slipped in behind him, without being noticed. When the companions finally came in, the brother told them to close the door and check the place carefully, just to make sure no one else was inside. And at that exact moment, the intruder heard this, so instead of running, he did something else. He climbed up and grabbed into a rope hanging from the ceiling, and just stayed there, completely still, holding himself up, not making a sound. Meanwhile, the others searched the place from corner to corner, but they found nothing. So they came back and sat with the brother, and he told them he needed his share of the money they had collected. So each of them went to where he had hidden his savings, dug it up, and placed it in front of him. And when everything was gathered together, it came to 10,000 dirhams, a serious amount. The brother took what he needed, and the rest they buried again, carefully, in a corner of the room. All of this while someone above them was watching and learning exactly where everything was hidden. Then they brought out some food and sat down to eat, and as they began, the brother heard something strange. Now this is where it gets interesting, because even though he couldn't see, he knew immediately there was someone there who shouldn't have been. Unlike you, if you are enjoying the story, you are exactly where you belong. Just don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. So he said it clearly. There was a stranger among them, and without hesitation, he reached out and caught him. The others jumped in at once, falling on the intruder, hitting him, not giving him a chance to escape. And then they started shouting, calling out loudly, saying that a thief had entered their house to steal from them. And as always, once people hear shouting, they come. A crowd began to gather, but the intruder was not done yet. In that moment, he shut his eyes tightly and pretended to be blind, just like them, and instead of defending himself, he turned the whole thing around. He accused them of exactly what they were accusing him of, calling for judgment between them. And just like that, everything shifted. The watchman arrived, seized all of them, including the brother, and dragged them together to the chief of the police. They were brought before him, and he asked what was going on. But before anyone else could speak, the intruder stepped forward, and what he said was something no one expected. He claimed that no one there would understand the truth just by asking questions, that the only way to know who was lying was to beat them. And then, without hesitation, he told them to start with him. Now that alone was enough to confuse everyone. But they didn't question it. They threw him to the ground and started beating him, blow after blow, until the pain began to show on him. And that's when something changed. At first, he opened one eye, just slightly. Then, as the beating continued and the pain increased, he opened the other. And in that moment, it became clear. This man was never blind. The chief stopped and looked at him, realizing something was wrong, asking what this was supposed to mean. But the man didn't answer right away. Instead, he asked for something first, a guarantee. He wanted a promise that he would be safe, that he would not be punished for what he was about to say. So the chief gave it to him, and only then he began to speak. He claimed that the four of them were not really blind at all, that this was all an act. According to him, they pretended to be blind so they could enter people's homes freely and do things they shouldn't. And in this way, he said, they had managed to collect 10,000 dirhams. But then, he said when he asked for his share, 2,500, the others refused. Not only that, they beat him and took everything from him. So now he stood there, asking for justice, saying it would be better for the chief to keep his share, rather than let the others take it. And then, he pushed it even further. He said that if the others were beaten harder than he had been, they would also open their eyes. The chief believed him. He ordered the three of them to be beaten, starting with the brother. They tied him up and began striking him again and again. And even while beating him, he kept insisting, swearing again and again that he truly could not see. But no one listened. The beating continued until he lost consciousness. And even then, it wasn't enough. The intruder told the chief to leave him until he woke up, and then beat him again, claiming he could endure even more. Then the other two were beaten as well, each receiving hundreds of blows, while the intruder stood there repeating the same thing over and over, telling them to open their eyes or the beating would continue. In the end, he told the chief to send someone with him to bring the money, saying that these men would never admit the truth, afraid that everything would be exposed in front of people. So the chief agreed. He sent someone with him, and soon they returned with the money. The intruder took his share, just as he had claimed, and the rest the chief kept for himself. And as for the brother and his companions, they were driven out of the city, just like that, with nothing. Now the barber said after this, he went looking for his brother. He found him, caught up with him, and asked what had happened. And the brother told him everything. So he took him back quietly, without anyone knowing, and made sure he was taken care of. And when he finished telling all of this, the ruler couldn't help but laugh. He ordered that the man be given something, and then sent away. But the barber, as always, was not done. He said that he was a man of few words, and that he still had to tell the stories of his other brothers, just to prove it, because of course, one story was never enough for him. So you see, a simple knock on the door turned into a fall he didn't expect. He went looking for a small act of kindness, but instead, he ended up with nothing but pain and humiliation. So tell me, was it just bad luck, or a path that was already falling apart from the start?